So I don't expect people to necessarily like this video either, because I'm telling the truth. Like, this is literally how the restaurant and the service industry is. Hey guys, Lizandria X here, and in today's video it's going to be a little bit of a special video. Today in this video I want to talk about the restaurant industry. Now, I'm not going to be talking about necessarily serving. I'm just going to be particularly talking about being a host and being a hostess and everything that I know about being a host, so I can spread some of that knowledge to y'all. I feel like 97% of people have never even worked in the restaurant industry, so a lot of y'all don't even know what happens behind the scenes, and a lot of y'all don't understand. Like, when y'all go out to these restaurants, y'all think y'all know, but there's so much more happening behind the scenes that y'all don't even know, that is, you guys are really only ever thinking about yourselves. I want to preface that there is so many people that as a host that you have to worry about. You have to think about the customers, you have to think about the servers, you have to think about the bartender, even down to the manager, because it's like, as a host, you're technically like a mini manager. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about the service industry, particularly being a host, and why some of these things happen at the host stand. And so next time when you go out to eat, you'll know why certain things are happening. So I have about like 5 things I want to particularly discuss. But since I've know about being a host, I don't have particular notes, just 5 things that I wrote down just so I can stay on topic with those things. The first thing I want to talk about is not counting your children as people. Let's get into that. What's up with y'all not counting y'all kids as people? There has been so many times where there has been like a party that comes in and they're like, oh, we're a party of 4, and I like grab 4 menus, and then next thing you know, I see Billy and Mandy run around from like the host stand, and I'm like, ma'am, you said there was 4 of you. Oh yeah, those 2 as well, but they don't really count. We can just squeeze them in the booth, right? No, now I have to find somewhere else to put you and your family at because you didn't count your children. Look, I understand, especially when it comes to people who have babies, like they're like 5 months old or 2 months old and stuff like that. I know your kid is only drinking formula, but at the same time, that baby is taking up space because look, you're carrying that baby in a carrier or a stroller, or you know, maybe your child may need to get in a high chair or even a booster seat. Your children are taking up space. I don't know what the non-correlation is with not counting your child as a person. Yes, your child is in the different part of the human experience, but that is still a person. Your baby is still a person. That baby has eyes just like you, ears like you, hands and knees and feet like you. So I don't understand why y'all can't correlate that your child is a person. That is a person. That is a live and well human being. So I don't understand why y'all just can't count y'all kids as people. Literally on multiple occasions, it will be like, oh, it's a party of 6. There's like a carrier sitting like in front of the host stand that I can't see, and I grab 6 menus, and then I see somebody like bend down on the ground, and then I see a baby. I'm like, ma'am, this is 7. Oh, but she's not gonna eat anything, you know, she's just a baby, she's just gonna drink formula. No ma'am, this is 7 people. But what do you mean it's 7 people? This is a big, ma'am, your child takes up space, and now this is considered a large party. You're gonna have to wait for like 30 minutes so we can get something set up for you. You know what, honey, that's just fine. Somebody can just hold the baby. And I don't like when people recommend holding their baby, especially if the child is like 1 year old or 2 even. Do not hold that kid. And I even tell parents, I say, ooh, I really don't recommend parents holding their baby when they're dining with us. The reason why I don't recommend you holding your child whenever you're dining is because whether you have a child or not, you want to go out to eat and have a nice experience. No matter if you're at this fine dining restaurant or bug down Applebee's, you at least want to go out to eat and have an okay time if you're going to eat at Applebee's. But it's like the experience of your restaurant experience is going to downgrade if you literally have your child screaming and crying in your arm and you can't even eat your burger. Or like you can't even eat your chicken sandwich, or you can't eat like your pork chop, or you can't even eat your T-bone steak because this child is screaming and crying and you're trying to get it to shh. Unlike a child in like the carrier, you can rock it a little bit, have a little something playing, and you can try to eat, but now you're holding the baby one arm trying to eat, shushing it, can't even enjoy your food like you're supposed to. And I know a part of parenting is definitely its own ball game, but at the same time, at least I want you to have a decent experience. But with you holding your kid, you're only making it worse on yourself. And I tell parents this every time, and it never fails, that they're like, we'll be fine. And I'm like, okay, you have it. And next thing you know, the child does the exact same thing that I just told y'all, and these parents can't have a good time. They're like, I'm just so irritated right now. Like, ma'am, I told you not to hold your baby. No matter if the baby is like a month old or a year old. Hey y'all, editing me. I just want to explain myself a little bit further. Is that first of all, shout out to all the parents out there. I know y'all work hard day in and day out to provide for your children and all of the above, and we appreciate you. And I absolutely know nothing about being a parent. I am simply just doing based off observations that I've had in these restaurants, and every single time I tell the parents to not hold their child and they do it, typically the child is throwing a temper tantrum, falling out, getting out their arms, running back and forth across the restaurant. But when I suggest to these parents that, hey, we don't suggest for you to hold your child, we would like for you to have your child in a high chair or a booster seat, and they actually take the suggestion, that child is probably one of the most well-behaved we've ever met or we've ever seen. Because why I suggested you not to hold that child, if it was the other way around, that child would be running all over the place. But because you have your child in a high chair or a booster seat, you are able to keep your child contained, and you can at least decently enjoy your time out. So that's what I was saying. Do not hold your children. And even when it comes down to large parties, I'll get to that later, but with large party reservations and stuff like that. But let me preface this. Whenever you're making a reservation and you're like, oh, it's going to be a party of 10. Okay. And then you show up with like 5 extra kids. That's a party of 15. Oh, but we can just squeeze them in somewhere. Like 2 of them need high chairs, so we can just squeeze them on the corners, and the other 3, they won't even sit down when they're eating anyway. We can just hold them in our lap. No, it is a party of 15. 15 people. Whenever you call and try to make a large party reservation for 15 people, it is 15 people. That is 15 people. Stop not counting your kids as people. Your children count. And stop coming up to the host and saying, oh, it's going to be 2.5. No, ma'am, that is 3. That is a whole human being. 3. Don't even say, 3 and a baby. Just say, whenever you go to the host stand and whenever you go out to eat, hi, it's going to be 4 of us, and this little guy or this little girl, she's going to need a high chair. Just say that and we'll understand. No need for it's the 3.5 or 7.5. No, we don't need that. Just say 4 and somebody needs a high chair or someone needs a booster seat. No more halves. I'm getting sick of y'all coming up to the host and talking about some halves. Next, let's talk about wait times. Whenever it comes to being on waits, of course, it is expected to be on a wait from on Friday nights, Saturday nights, and Sunday brunch, because typically people like to go out to eat after church. So you're gonna have a wait on Sunday brunch, 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, maybe even like 11:30 and stuff like that. But I want to talk about wait times whenever it comes to like 3 o'clock in the afternoon on a Tuesday or even a Wednesday. Let's talk about those wait times really quickly. Now let's say the hostess or the host tells you it's a casual Thursday afternoon at 3:30, and they tell you that the wait time is gonna be about 10-15 minutes. And I've seen it a lot happen. A lot of people throw a fit. Or they're like,
but ain't nobody in here. Why we gotta wait 15 minutes? Why can't we just go on and be seated?
There is a lot of reasons why I am putting you on a 10-15 minute wait. And it's so crazy how we've lost so much patience in the world, because 10 minutes is not that long to me. Like, especially prior to ever working in the restaurant industry, if somebody said, oh, the wait's gonna be about 10 minutes, I would not. I'm like, okay, cool. We can just sit right over here and I'll just wait 10 minutes. That's no issue for me. But there is a reason why on like a casual Tuesday afternoon at 3 or 4 o'clock, there might be a 15-minute wait and there's no one in the restaurant. Let's get into that, because I know some of y'all want to know how that happens sometimes. First of all, sometimes the reason why we're on waits like that is because of one of 2 things. We either don't have enough staff, we don't have anybody to service any of the tables, so we have to wait for people to get there, 2 service the tables, or 2, we're in the middle of a shift change, or I like to personally call it the merge. Shift change or the merge is technically when you're switching from your morning servers to your night servers. And switching from morning to night servers can definitely be a little hectic, especially in the restaurant. Of course, to the customer's eye, it literally looks like nothing. But in the back, there is so much going on during pre-shift. A pre-shift is technically just the manager telling the servers, well, we're 86. 86 means what we're out of that day. Like, we might be out of burgers that day, so don't sell the burgers, or let your tables know, hey, we're not serving burgers for tonight, you know, stuff like that. So they're in the back getting a pre-shift, and we're in the middle of the merge. And also with our morning servers, a lot of times these morning servers, they don't want to be sat no more. They are so sick and tired. They are ready to go home. Some of these people have kids that they have to get back to. Some of these people got to get their kids from daycare. Some people have another job that they have to head to. So it's just easier to put customers on a wait. So it's just easier to put y'all on a wait because it saves so much time for us. And there's also something called a transfer when you're switching from one server to another. So you know how sometimes when you go out to restaurants and you have one server that gives you drinks and maybe complimentary bread or something like that, if your restaurant serves complimentary bread, like something like the Cheesecake Factory, then you get another server. But that server is with you for the rest of the time that you're there. That is what we call a transfer. So what had happened is server A was about to get off but got sat by the host, so now they have to quick greet you, at least to acknowledge that you're there. So server A gets you drinks and bread, and then they take it back to your table. Now server B is there, and now with server B, they're gonna take care of you. But with that, a transfer takes a really long time because you have to transfer over servers, gratuities and tips and sales tech. Like, it's so much transferring that's happening. It's just so much easier to put people on a wait. And my camera is flashing. It's literally about to die on me, so you guys will probably see me like a little bit later when the sun is down, and I hate that, but see y'all after a while. Sorry about that. Had to charge all up, but it's literally late, so the sun went down, so I'm filming with my ring light now. I like filming in the window with my natural light, but if this is what I have to do, this is what I have to do. But back to what I was talking about, because when we go on a wait, like let's say if it's like 15-20 minutes prior to the merge, typically what would happen is you would typically make a wait at least 30 minutes out, so at least you can get a little bit of a grace period. So at least for the pre-shift, so if the pre-shift goes over like an extra 5 minutes, you have that time span instead of saying, okay, well the merge starts at 3 o'clock. Let's cut it off at 2:45, so I'll do 15-minute wait. No, always do like at least an extra 10 minutes. So if it's like 15 minutes to the wait time, so let's say merge starts at 3 o'clock, you cut it off at 2:45, make it a 25-minute wait, just so you can have some wiggle room, just to you know be open and everything. Hey y'all, editing me. But I think what I was trying to say in this video, which in this part, the words weren't necessarily coming out, but what I was trying to say was that I'd rather over quote you than under quote you for a wait time. I'd rather quote you 25 minutes than 15 minutes because the pre-shift might not be done at 3 o'clock. The pre-shift may be done at 3:05, and the next thing you know, you coming up there at the host stand talking about some, it's been over 5 minutes. Why haven't I been sat? I'd rather overquote time and be on the safe side and get you sat earlier than 25 minutes, as opposed to going over your wait time and you're sitting out there for 25 minutes when I quoted you 15. That's basically why I rather you have a longer wait time, so at least you could get paged a little earlier. Back to bed. Everything of the sort, so it's just easier like that. Whenever the merge is happening and you cut that time off, it gives the people who are in the lunch service to leave, and we can have our bussers bus the table, and the table can be clean for that server who is serving that night, so that section can be clear instead of like them waiting for their entire section to get cleared out. It's just more easier to just put the customers on a 20-minute wait, because typically when you're switching from a.m. to p.m., a lot of people from that lunch service typically leave. Like they leave like right when the server is leaving. So it creates like an empty restaurant so we can get butts and seats and these servers can get their money. You know, because some servers do like getting double sat, triple sat, whatever the case may be. Some servers like that, while other servers may need to take it slow. When it comes to wait times, there's just so much stuff that could be going on. To the public's eye, the guest's eye, the customer eye, it looks like we're just putting you on a wait for no particular reason, but when really reality behind the scenes, you're on a wait for a particular reason. Next, let's get into y'all, the public. How y'all are so, not all of y'all, but a lot of y'all are very disrespectful. Y'all are some of the most disrespectful, rudest, brattiest people I have ever seen working with the public. People can be so mean and so disrespectful. Like, sometimes it literally makes me think in the back of my mind, like, who raised y'all? Who raised you? There has been so many, especially when it comes to working at the host stand, how sometimes the host is like, hi, welcome in, or hi, welcome to our restaurant, you know, how many, or hi, how y'all folks doing today? How many do we have in our party? There's been so many times where I can't even say hey or hello. This is literally how it goes. Let me do like a bit. I need to do a bit. This hat is gonna represent the customer. Two. Okay, two. Okay, y'all can follow me this way. Like, that is so rude. Because one time there was this couple that came in and I said, hi, how are y'all folks doing today? He said two. The boyfriend said two. And the girlfriend was like, babe, she asked you a question. We're doing good, thank you, how are you? I said, I'm doing great, thank you for asking. How many in your party today? She was like, there's two of us, I'm so sorry about that. I said, it's all good, it happens more often than you think. She was like, I'm so sorry. And the boyfriend was like, what? I was just saying. Like, and whoever you are, shout out to you, because thank you for correcting your boyfriend, because that was very rude of him, you know. And I'm glad she corrected him right then and there. Or like, y'all won't even say it. I'll be like, hi, how are y'all? Put your fingers down. Look, some of y'all are too grown for this. Okay, here's my thing. You're grown enough. You were grown enough to get your job, grown enough to make money, grown enough to get your apartment or your house, grown enough to get your car, but yet you can't speak to me, you can't speak to another human being as soon as you walk into an establishment. That is just so rude. Every single time somebody does that to me, it irks me, and I just want to say every single time when that happens, who raised you? Or like, that was very rude. There's been multiple times when like servers will come by and they see the interaction and they be like, that was rude, and they just say that bluntly, and the customer just looking at the server like, who she or he think he talking to. But no, that server's correct. That was very rude of you when I asked you a question and you're talking about some two or some four. Like, respond back. Like, just or even acknowledge it. I'm like, you don't even have to reciprocate it back to me. Just, hey, how y'all folks doing today? We're doing good, thank you. It's gonna be a party too. You don't even have to ask me how I'm doing. Just reciprocate and at least acknowledge that the fact that I spoke to you. Like, come on now. Like, y'all can be so rude sometimes. So rude. If y'all don't take anything else from this video, speak to your host as soon as she's like, hi, how are y'all doing? Speak to your hostesses. Speak to the hostess. Hi, how are y'all doing today? I'm doing good. How are you doing today? Just be decent. Like, literally, what is wrong with y'all? Like, I can't believe how rude some of y'all are. There's has been a couple of discourse online about when it comes to serving and working in the restaurant industry and being a server. I've seen comments say I would never work at a job where I will only get paid $2.13 an hour and only rely on other people paying me. Who would do such a thing? Be careful how you talk about people, because a lot of people who work in the service industry sometimes have regular jobs, but those regular jobs don't get them by in life, so they have to work at the serving job to make ends meet, to pay rent, to pay car payments, or pay for a child's daycare. Some of these people who work in the restaurant industry are literal parents, and all they have is serving, and they have to make up for their child's this and kid that, child's hospital bill, because also being a server, you don't get certain benefits because that's technically considered an entrepreneur. So it's just, a lot that goes into it. And you, like I said, I hate when people talk about that, because one day that could be you. And the only job you can get is a serving job at Waffle House. And that's the only way you can get by. Some of these people who work in these restaurants, they have degrees and stuff, but they're just waiting to get a call back from maybe like a hospital so they can get their nursing job. Like, and they're just being a server for the time being. Or some of these people, this is just, they went down on their luck and the serving job is the only thing they can have. So I hate when people do that, because stop talking about people like that and saying that's something you would never do, because one day that could be you. So how about you just stop shaming people like that and just have some sort of sympathy and empathy for others. Now I want to get into large parties. Like, this fourth point is like a part 2. It's like 4A and 4B. So it's 4 overall. Let's talk about large parties, but let's talk about 4A, which is large parties that walk in. Let's get into that. When we have a large party that walks in, there is so much that happens. Now, if it's a large party that walks in on a casual Wednesday afternoon at 2 p.m., that might be okay. And we can go on and sit you, or we might have to let you wait for like 15 minutes so we can, because some restaurants do have party areas, some restaurants don't. Some restaurants may have party rooms, private rooms, and some just have a back area where they typically stick parties at. And it may take 15 minutes to get the tables, getting tables together, putting menus down, and you know, whatever hostess have to do sometimes, or even the server has to do when preparing for a casual party of 12 that comes in on a Wednesday afternoon at 2 p.m. Don't expect to get immediately seated with your party of 12 on a Saturday night at 6 p.m. A lot of restaurants, especially if they're very popular restaurants, they typically tend to get busy on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday brunch. I think I prefaced that earlier in the video, but I can't necessarily remember. So if you're coming in on a busy Saturday night with a party of 12, you best believe you will probably be waiting between an hour and a half to 3 hours to get sat. Especially if a restaurant is all booked up on reservations, or they are all booked up on large party reservations. You're going to be waiting, and don't sit up here and have an attitude with the hostess or even the manager when they tell you that unfortunately your wait is going to be 3 hours. You're the one who didn't call and at least ask how long the wait would be or anything like that. Like, it's your fault. I'm sorry, and this is something that we need to start having some sort of accountability. There's been multiple times when we've seen like parties of 14 come in on a busy Saturday night at 6 p.m. Busy Saturday night at 6 p.m. And they're like, why can't we be sat now? I see all these other people getting sat. Some of these people have reservations. Some of these people have been on the wait list for a really long time, and it's now time to get sat. And oh yeah, that's just a party of 4. We can go on and sit them. We don't have space for a party of 14 until 3 hours from now, because we're already booked up on large party reservations. What's not clicking, boo? Like, I'm not understanding like why y'all can't seem to understand. If you're coming into an establishment on a busy Saturday night at 6 p.m., you're not going to get sat immediately. There's nowhere any restaurant would ever seat you immediately on a busy Saturday night at 6 p.m. And some restaurants on Saturday nights don't, like on the weekends at least, don't even take large party reservations or reservations period, because it's just so much. So I know some people take their chances and just show up somewhere and like, well, hopefully they don't take reservations anyway. And then we've had some people ask, well, what am I supposed to do now? Like, was I supposed to call? Well, yeah, you could have called and at least call and ask like, hey, do y'all have space for a party of 14? And if we don't have space for a party of 14, move on and find someplace else that can take your party of 14. Because we've literally had so many people call and be like, yeah, it's a party of 14. We're going to be coming in about an hour. And I'm like, oh, well, unfortunately, we don't have space for a party of 14 at this current moment. We're all booked up on large parties and our restaurant is way overbooked. And people will literally throw the suggestion, okay, but what if we just show up? I'm like, I really don't recommend you show up because we are really, really busy. And I always tell people, but if you do show up and you decide to ever show up, you're going to be waiting for a really long time. And they're like, well, how long a time? I'm like, probably upwards of 3 hours. Maybe even 3.5. And they're like, oh, are you kidding me? But I'm calling to let you know that I'm showing up. Calling and making a reservation are two different things. If you're calling to let us know that you're showing up, don't say that. Make the reservation. Editing me again. I would also like to preface, which is something that was bothering me, and if I didn't mention it in this video, it was gonna literally bother me. So I am gonna say it as well. But
whenever you have a large party reservation, don't try to make it on the same day. Like if you have a party of 10 and you want to make a reservation, like, oh, well, I got all my people, well, let me just, make a reservation at said restaurant for 6 p.m. tonight, and you're calling them at 12, that's too short notice. That is too short notice. I always tell people, if you have a large group of people, for me personally, I consider a large group of people, or like a larger set of people, if it's 7+. If it's more than 6 people, you need to call a restaurant at least 2 weeks in advance and try to get a reservation in. I always tell people, if you have a large group of people, doesn't matter if it's 7 people or 15 people or 20 people, you need to call at least 2 to 3 weeks in advance to try to get something set up. And also, whenever y'all are making these reservations, have your exact head count. Don't be like, well, I think maybe 14 people are coming, but 2 might not show up, or 2 might be coming. So just leave it. No, you need to ask these people, are they coming? Yes or no, because we cannot deal with the maybes and the mights and the ifs. No more of that. Have your head count. Know how many people are coming to the restaurant out to eat at this place, so you can have an exact head count, so we can give you a final verdict right then and there, instead of talking about, hey, I might have a party of 14, but 2 might be showing up, so it might be 16. No more of that. No more of that. Okay, back to the video.
And like I said, I know some restaurants don't take reservations, period. So it just depends on which restaurant you're calling. Did I preface this in the video earlier? I can't necessarily remember. But not all restaurants are the same. Some restaurants take reservations, some don't. Some take large parties, some don't. Places may take parties of 30, some may only take a party of 10. You just never know, because I think a lot of people tend to forget that not all restaurants are the same. A different restaurant may have a different policy than others. Like Applebee's may have a different policy than Chili's. Like, it's just, there's 2 different things that goes on with these restaurants that you just never know. So it's always nice to call and ask, but don't show up on a busy Saturday night with your party of 14 and you think you're gonna get sat right at the current moment. No. Now let's talk about large parties who make reservations. Now, before I get into the large parties who make reservations, I just want to say something. Any party, whether if it's like a party of 4 or a party of 14, any party that brings balloons, I know is always going to cause havoc. Whether they are going to cause havoc at the whole stand or cause havoc with their server, they're going to cause havoc somewhere, somehow. Why do I know this? Because I've been studying this for a really long time. Any party that brings balloons into the restaurant are going to cause havoc. They will be a problem. Like, they're always a problem, because we can't accommodate everything down to the T, or we're just not giving them what they want, or something happens at their table and their server gives them the wrong item on accident, or they accidentally put blue cheese on their wet salad when they didn't ask for it. So it's just a lot. When it comes to large parties who make reservations, a lot of times I tend to notice that are always loud. Why are y'all always loud? I have no idea why these large parties are always loud. Like, we can literally hear y'all on the other end of the restaurant. Like, I'm all the way in the front of the building, you're all the way in the back of the building, and I can still hear you and your party just laughing it up. And I understand when people go out, they want to have a good time and have fun and eat and create family memories, family and friend memories. But you also have to remember there are other people in the restaurant who want to dine and have a good time too. And this is what I think I talked about earlier, about being disrespectful toward, but also being disrespectful around other people. Would you want to go out to a restaurant and you hear somebody laughing on the other end? Sometimes that can be really annoying. Sometimes you just want to eat and just talk and have a good time, but you hear people literally you're on one end of the restaurant, you can literally hear like a party on the other end of the restaurant. And of course, we know that large parties can start to make a little bit of noise and stuff like that, especially when everybody's starting to leave, and we get that. But if y'all just got there and y'all already making all that noise, it is really disruptive to other guests. And when we've had large party make reservations, now sometimes some restaurants may allow you to decorate the table, and there's nothing wrong with that, but sometimes it just gets me thinking. Now this is just a personal opinion of mine. One time we literally had a lady bring like a whole tablecloth, a candle set, like flowers, like she was setting up the table as if she was at a venue. Here's my take on this. If you want to set up so pretty and you know you and your people are going to be loud, you might as well just go to your city's park and recreation centers and find a good place for $50 an hour, which is not that bad, and something through the city, like $45 an hour that you could pay per hour, set that up there and have an event there. And y'all can enjoy some pizza and wings and soda instead of going out to these restaurants and having stuff like this be done and disrupting others in the restaurant as well. The hostess, we're constantly thinking about other people in the restaurant. Yes, we want to accommodate your large party, but we also have to think about others who took the time out, who want to eat here as well. You know, it's not just y'all that is here. We have literally like 100 other people in this place. It's not just y'all. If you wanted it to be just y'all should have went to your local park and recreation center down at City Hall or something like that, or went to a hotel, or did something on Airbnb, like I don't know, and found something that way. But a lot of large parties can be very disruptive to the rest of the restaurant, and there has been times when managers have had to go over there and be like, hey, can y'all bring it down a little bit, it's a little disruptive to other guests. Sometimes we've had people like leave because the party on the other side is just being so loud and so disruptive. It's absolutely crazy. Make sure y'all are just learning how to respect others. And the last thing I want to talk about is when it comes to seating. Now, when it comes to seating, there are some restaurants that have just booths, some restaurants that have just tables, but then you have restaurants that have both booths and tables. If there's a restaurant that has both, most people are gonna want to sit in a booth. The amount of times when someone's like, oh, it's a party of two, and I take them to a table and they're like, oh, we want a booth. Well, maybe you should have said that when you were up there at the host. I just want y'all to start saying that whenever you get it to the host stand, and oh, how many will it be? Oh, it's gonna be two, and can we get a booth by chance? Or, oh, and we would like to have a booth. Say that so I can accommodate you better instead of taking you all the way to the doggone table and you're like, matter of fact, can we get a booth? We don't want this. Or if like the host, oh, this used to happen a lot when I first started hosting, but I would sit people at a table and then they would like move to a booth, but they wouldn't get up and tell somebody. They would just move to a booth. But that literally messes up my entire, because like there's a board that host has to do to like mark off which server had gotten sat. And if you're just moving to a table without telling the host that you moved to said table, you're throwing off the entire thing and you're throwing off the entire system. So if you don't want to sit at a table, let somebody know. Ask. Don't just move. Just say something. I would rather you say something about it. But sometimes you can't just move to booths or just move to anywhere you want, because sometimes we're saving that for our reservations. Sometimes we're blocking off tables for particular reservations, and if you're just a walk-in, you don't necessarily get to choose unless you tell us right up there at the front that, hey, I would like to sit at a table, or I would like to sit at a booth. And I've clocked that a lot of people like to sit at booths, but I don't know why y'all don't want to sit at tables when a lot of y'all eat at kitchen tables at y'all houses that has hardwood chairs. A lot of restaurants that have tables have cushions in their chairs, but yet none of y'all want to sit in a chair. A lot of y'all want to sit at a booth, but y'all sit at chairs in y'all house. So it's always weird to me, and plus the food don't taste the same. It's just baffling to me because the food is literally gonna taste the exact same. So I don't understand what the issue is as to why y'all just can't sit in booths. That's never necessarily made sense to me, and I know a lot of people sit in booths because people grew up sitting in booths, especially when you're a kid. Your parents want to sit in a booth so they can like contain you as a child, so everybody just grows up and get conditioned to the booth. But there's nothing wrong with sitting at a table. There's nothing wrong with that, and I wish people would recognize that as well. Whenever the host is sitting you, and if you have an issue with it, or if you don't like sitting in a booth and you would like to have a table, say that. Oh, can we have a table? Honestly, I feel like a lot of hosts, I don't know, this is just me speaking from experience, but I feel like a lot of hosts would like for people to sit at tables rather than booths, so we can save those booths for people who have children and old people. Because typically when it comes to old people, I know a lot of old people like to sit in booths because they're older. But if you're a able-bodied 20-something-year-old, you can literally sit at a table. Like, I don't especially if a restaurant has bar tables or high-top tables, sit at the high top that is something for another day. I have to make like a part 2 to this video, and like I said earlier in the video, I won't talk about serving for a while, but there is so much that goes on behind the scenes in the restaurant industry that a lot of y'all do not know about. And like I said, I made this video just to make it more knowledgeable, to whenever you guys go out to restaurants, you guys won't think so narrow-minded, but rather have your mind expand. Honestly, it's so much easier if a lot of people really just worked in the restaurant industry to understand this. If everybody was a server or a host for at least 6 months to a year, we would not have as many issues as in the restaurant like we do now, because a lot of people just don't know how restaurants work. A lot of people don't know that. So now when I go out to eat, as someone who has worked in the restaurant industry, when I go out to eat, I'm so mindful of everything now. When it comes to like being a server and stuff, I'll probably make that video a little later this year. I'm still collecting facts on that as well, but like hosting, I know that. I feel like I know hosting down to the core. So it's just, that's why I wanted to make this video and preface this video for that. I did make a YouTube short like last year about like the restaurant, and I had gotten like 4 dislikes on that video because I guess people didn't like what I said, but that's the truth. I can't remember what I talked about in that video. I really can't remember what I talked about in that video, but people didn't like that, so I don't expect people to necessarily like this video either, because I'm telling the truth. Like, this is literally how the restaurant and the service industry is. If you have any comments down below, be nice in the comments. Let's have a civil conversation. If you have questions, extra questions, I can definitely answer that down below, because like I said, I just want to spread this video for knowledge and understanding. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Like, comment, share, and subscribe, especially subscribe, and I hope that you guys have a good day. Bye.